What are all those little bubbles floating around in the aquarium? Well, you'll find that out later on in the video. But before we get to that point, guys, I want to tell you something that is super awesome. Now, if you guys love consuming my content, if you like watching these type of videos, or you would really love to ask me a question in person, well, now is your chance, because on the 21st of March, I am going to be attending the Niagara Coral Show. This is going to be at Niagara Falls, Ontario, and it is going to be super cool. It's going to be at the Scotiabank Convention Centre on the 21st of March. I can't wait to go. It's going to be awesome. And if you guys are in the area on the 21st of March 2020, you need to get over and come and say hello. Guys, I can't wait to meet you all. Let's get into the video. Yo, how's it going, guys? Welcome to another Aaron's Aquarium video, and welcome to episode number 4 of the super simple budget reef series. Now in this series, we are setting up this Fluval Evo 13.5 and setting it up as a reef aquarium. Now what a reef aquarium is, that is a saltwater aquarium that houses not only fish, but also corals in here. Now, the previous episodes have got us all up until this point. So episode number 1, we sort of like went through what our plans are for this aquarium. In episode number 2, we actually set this aquarium up step by step. Episode number 3, we added the fish to this aquarium. And now in episode 4, we are going to be adding corals to this aquarium. And near the end of the video, we are going to be putting a few upgrades into this tank to make it run that little bit more efficiently. Now these upgrades are completely optional, and that's why I'm going to show you them near the end of the video, because they are not a requirement. They're completely optional. If you want to do them, you can, but you don't have to. They will make your life a little bit easier or make the tank function a little bit better, but it's not a necessity, okay? All right, so first of all, let's get some corals into this tank. Now, this tank is obviously, it's a very basic tank. This tank costs around £130 in the UK. I think it's about the same in the States, about $130. So you can't expect a lot for that amount of money. But I've been running this now for 2 months, and this tank is actually running quite well. Now there has been a bit of a span of time between my last update and this one, because I was having a few issues at home, a few personal issues, which meant that I wasn't really able to create videos. But during that time between the last update and this one, I've learned a lot about this tank. And it is quite a good tank, and you'll be surprised what corals you can actually house in here. Now this tank has actually had corals for the past month, but I've taken the corals out, put them in this tray so that I can put them back in again, just for your reasons really, to show you how to do it. Now this light, I wasn't sure how this light would do with corals, because obviously, like I said, the tank is a cheap light. It's £130 for everything, including the light. So I thought the light can't be that good for that amount of money, but the corals that I've had in here seem to be doing really, really well. So let's see what we're going to be putting in. So we're not going to be going daft on the corals. We're not going to be putting things in that are really, really demanding, because the tank itself, you know, I'm keeping it as basic as I can. Each and every week I do a water change on this tank, and that's it. I don't do any dosing. I don't do anything that's sort of like crazy above, you know, the station of a beginner. It's literally just a water change tank, nothing else. When I water change, basically what I do is I take out around about this amount of water. So from here down to here, I remove that from this aquarium and I throw that water away down the drain. I then make fresh water, so I make up a salt mix. So basically I take RODI water and I mix that with salt. So proper aquarium salt, not salt that you get out of your kitchen, proper aquarium salt. There's many different brands out there that you can choose from. If you want to know a little bit more about how to mix your salt and things like that, I've got another video that goes into setting up a reef tank. It's up there, check that one out, and that will show you how to mix your salt. So every week I take out around about that much water and then replace it with fresh new water. What that does is it removes any impurities that are in this tank, any waste, any rubbish. It takes out a percentage of that waste and rubbish, and it also replaces things like calcium, alkalinity, magnesium, and various different trace elements that the corals need. So it keeps the tank nice and balanced. So today we're going to be adding corals to this tank. Now we can't just simply grab a coral from the shop and just dump it in the tank. We want to be a little bit more proactive than that. We want to make sure first of all that the coral is ready to go into this tank, and second of all that there's no little beasties, no little horrible things inside the coral hiding away that are going to come out and cause us chaos in the tank. So to do that, we need to do this. Firstly, what we have to do is make sure that the corals are temperature acclimated. You might remember temperature acclimation from the video where we added the fish to the aquarium, where we floated the bag in the aquarium, so the water inside of the bag that the fish came in started to equalize to the temperature of the water inside of the aquarium. It's just the exact same process with the coral. Once it started to temperature equalize and stuff, you can then empty that coral and its water into a Tupperware container or something like that, like I have done here. Then you're going to want a separate container with your tank water in, and this is going to be like a bit of a bath for corals. Now we're going to be using this today, but again, there's many different products available on the market. This is called the Dip, and it's by Fauna Marin. This is a coral dip, and what this does is it kills off any pests or little beasties that we don't really want in our aquariums that can hitchhike on a coral. So first of all, we need to read the instructions. Obviously it says on here, so it says take 1 litre of tank water. We have 1 litre of tank water in this container here. And then it says add 15 millilitres of the dip into the container. So let's do that. So we've got this little measuring syringe here, which is a 5 millilitre one. So it means I'll have to do this 3 times. So get that. Squeeze it out. So there's 5 millilitres. Squeeze that in. 1. 2. And 3. So that's 15 millilitres into 1 litre of aquarium water. So salt water out of your tank. Then I'm just going to take a little plastic spoon and give it a bit of a stir so it's all around and all inside the water and it's nice and evenly spread out. And then after that, what it says to do is place the coral in the dip and gently swirl the water around in intervals. So let's take the corals out and place them into this dip. So the corals that we're going to be putting in today is a nice, easy coral, but also at the same time, a very stunning and a very striking coral, and that is a zoanthid. We're putting zoas into this tank. This is a coral that just keeps on giving. It grows very, very well. You know, you can start off with 1 singular disc, and then that 1 disc can turn into 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, until you get this really beautiful colony. Now, this colony of zoas is also very brightly coloured, and it looks absolutely striking underneath the blue light in this tank. It looks fantastic. So in here we've got a different selection, you know, a few different types of zoas, and as the instructions said, we just need to periodically, you know, swirl the water around. And what this will do, as the little beasties and the little things that we don't want start to die in the coral or around the coral, we'll sort of like whoosh them off and rinse them off, so that when we put the coral into the tank, the coral will just be the coral, and all the little dead beasties and all the other little things will stay in this container. So it says on the bottle here that dip the coral for a maximum of 5 minutes. Rinse the coral in a separate container with aquarium water and place it into the aquarium. Discard the dip and rinse solution. So what I will do after this is, once we've put this in here for a couple of minutes, kept it swirling around, make sure that any little beasties or anything like that, you know, are dead. So keep on swirling it, keep on swishing it. We'll do this for a few more minutes, and then once I'm finished, we'll come back and I'll give it a rinse off. Okay, so it's been 4 minutes now, and I'm gonna get these corals out of this dip solution. So I'm just gonna give them another little final shake to make sure nothing's on them, and then I'm gonna give them a rinse in this water here, which is literally just aquarium water. This is aquarium water from this aquarium. This isn't the aquarium water that came in the bag originally. This is aquarium water from this aquarium. This is aquarium water from this aquarium. This one has dip solution in it. This one does not. So we're just going to be basically trying to rinse off a little bit of the dip solutions. So we need to get rid of this, throw this away, so we don't need that anymore. That's got the dip solution in. This is okay now. So this is great now to add the corals to the tank. Right, okay, so we're not making a massive mess. I'm gonna take all of the lids off this aquarium. This aquarium is all completely covered, which I love, because I find that I don't get loads and loads of evaporation. So what we're gonna need to do is obviously take all the lids off, including the light. So we'll just turn the light off so it's not shining in my eyes. Get this out of the way. Make sure any water that is in the lid, it's great for evaporation, this aquarium, because any water that would normally end up in the air or making our walls mouldy is trapped by this lid, which I love. So pop that down there out the way. We're also going to turn this aquarium off, just so that I can see where I'm placing my corals as well. All right, so now that I can see down into the aquarium, I can place the corals a little better. And it's not that difficult at all. You can either use things like super glue or epoxy, things like that, if you need to stick the coral to the rocks. We don't really need to stick anything today, but when I next add corals that do need to be stuck down, I'll show you how to do that. But with these corals, it's quite simple, because these are all gonna go around the floor area of this tank. So I'm gonna place this little colony of zoas, I'm gonna place this around about here. And then we've got another little colony of zoas just here. This is a nice one. This has got loads of zoas on it. So we're going to place this one also sort of like round about here on the floor. And that's going to add a lot of colour at the front of the aquarium. So when you look at it, it's going to really pop. We've also got a little smaller colony just here. These are a little bit more high-end, these zoas. These are called Utter Chaos zoas. These ones actually have a name. So we're going to give these ones a bit more of a pride of place, and we're going to stick them right on top there where everybody can see them straight away. And then we've got these other ones here. Now all of those zoas that I've got there are quite orange. They have an orange look, but these ones are green. So the orange and green contrast will look really, really good. And there we go. That's the corals in place now. So that's what our little starter corals, and they are great beginner corals. Zoanthids are great beginner corals. Now, one thing that I do suggest, if you ever do sort of like get hold of zoanthids or anything like that, is just be that little bit more careful with them, because certain zoanthids, and definitely polythoras, can contain what is called a polytoxin, which can be quite deadly to us humans. So definitely if you, oh, hello. What can I do for you? So definitely, if you are going to handle zoanthids, I would suggest maybe using gloves You know, like latex gloves that don't have powder on them, I would suggest using those, and some eye protection potentially, just in case you was to get any of the sort of like the juices into your eyes, which could be, you know, quite dangerous. But as you just saw just there, you know, if you're quite careful and if you handle them carefully and stuff like that, certain ones don't have polytoxins in them either, so you're not got to worry. What can I do for you, mate? Hey, what's wrong? What do you want? You come in to say hello? Literally coming out of the water. Hello, little man. So cute. Now, I tell you what, before we get into the upgrades, I'm going to have to give this clownfish a bit of food because it really, really is begging for food. You know, it's like coming up to the top, wants feeding, here you go. Do you want a bit? Here you go. You want it? There you go. Put that in. So here I'm feeding flake food. Now, I find flake food to be like a really easy, convenient food, especially for a tank this size. You know, you can see I've put a very, very small amount in. The clown is now eating it, you know, happily. That's what it's been mithering me for. It wants some food. So both clowns there are eating what they need to eat. Job done. It's a very sort of like concentrated food, flake food, so it's going to give them all the nutrition that they need, and you're not going to overly pollute your aquarium because you can keep the amount of food that you need to feed very small. Okay, so upgrades. Right, now out of the box, this tank in the filtration area has a sponge in the middle. Now that sponge seems to work quite well, but the problem is with the sponge is it requires a lot of maintenance. To be honest, it's a bit of a pain because it fills up quickly, it gets blocked quite quickly, and it just means that, you know, more than once a week, I found that I was having to, you know, wring that sponge out, clean that sponge, which was becoming a pain in the bum, if I'm honest. So one of the upgrades that I've done is I've taken that sponge out and got rid of it and replaced it with one of these. This is called, if I can get it out without dropping everything everywhere. Ooh. Come on, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. Boom, there you go. There you go. So this piece of acrylic here is called an in-tank media basket. And what this helps me do is get rid of that bloody sponge, if I'm honest with you. And it allows me to add more bio media to the tank. Now, if you remember from the video where I was telling you about biofiltration, you know, this tank now has even more biofiltration because I'm using these. These are called max spec bio blocks, and this is where your bacteria is going to live. Remember when I was talking about the nitrogen cycle and things? Woo! That's where it's going to live. So this gives me a hell of a lot more homes for bacteria to live, and that bacteria is going to look after our little inhabitants inside the tank. So I've replaced the sponge with this in-tank media basket. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, this is completely optional. The tank will run perfectly fine with just the sponge, but it just means that you've just got to put that little bit more effort into maintaining this aquarium, and it was a bit more effort than I sort of like was willing to invest, if I'm honest with you. Now, there is also a second in-tank media basket that goes into this chamber here, into chamber 1. Now, again, completely optional, but what I find is if you was ever thinking about going out and buying the skimmer for this tank, I wouldn't bother. I would buy this. The reason why I would say to buy this over the skimmer is because it's way more versatile. The skimmer is what it's going to do. It's going to bubble out, so it's going to create bubbles, and in those bubbles, it's going to trap bits of waste from your aquarium, and then that waste is going to overflow into a little cup so you can tip it away. But there's other ways of, you know, making sure that the water quality is tip top in here, and this basket will help do that. So on the top level, I've put the sponge. So that sponge that came with the aquarium, I've cut it out with scissors and I've put it on the top level. So when the water goes through the little slats here, water falls onto this sponge. So all like the fish poo, excess fish food, etc. will all get trapped in this sponge, and I can quickly and easily wring it out and throw, and whatever I need to do, just get rid of the waste. And then below that, I've got a couple of different chambers which I can do anything with. At the moment, remember the biomedia that came with the tank? I've got that in here because I've got to wait for that biomedia, should I say, to become colonized with bacteria. This one already had bacteria in it, so I've kept that whilst this one starts to work. Now, do you remember the carbon as well that came with the aquarium from, you know, the video when I said you don't need it yet? Once your tank has been running for a while, you'll notice that it starts to look a little bit yellow. The water has this little yellowy green tinge to it. You can put the carbon in here that came with the aquarium, that will take away that yellowy greeny tinge, and it will also take out any impurities that are potentially in the aquarium, which is great. If you're having phosphate problems, if you see that your phosphates are going up, you can put phosphate media in here. You can put things like GFO or aluminium based phosphate remover in here as well. It's dead versatile. You can put in here whatever you want to put in here, what you need for the aquarium. At the moment, I've just got the biomedia that we already had and a sponge, and it just works good because it also channels the flow of water. So now my water goes that way, comes through this way, goes into the media baskets, goes through all the media. It's a lot more efficient. So that's one of the upgrades I would suggest, but again, it's not a necessity. Another upgrade is the flow. Now, like I said to you in the previous video, there's something that is called the random flow generator. Now, this is a 3D printed piece of plastic. Whew, that was hard to say, but it's great. This will do a very similar job to this, which is our wave maker. So that wave maker will, you know, create turbulence and water movement, which our corals are going to love. But this will create a very similar thing. Now, at the moment, we have duckbills in this aquarium. And what duckbills are, if I can get them off, they're just basically like pieces of plastic that have been squeezed on the end to create more of a focused flow. But these are not that efficient, really. They're not that good. So what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to take them off. So if you saw, I literally just popped the full thing off, take that away, and then I'm going to take my random flow generator, and then I'm going to take 2 lengths of lock line, so 2 knuckles of lock line. So 1, 2. So that's 2 knuckles of lock line. I'm going to place that on to the random flow generator, and I'm going to squeeze that. Oh, it's not easy. There we go. But that was some face that was pulling them, wasn't it? And I'm going to place that on there. Now, one of 2 things you can do here now. You can either leave that like that, leave your wave maker in the aquarium, and also have the random flow generator so you're having lots and lots of turbulence in the tank. Or you can change the return pump that is in the back that came with the aquarium for a more powerful return pump. Something like the Eheim Compact 1000 is a great one. You know, you can put that in and then you can take the wave maker out. Or if you're setting one of these up for the first time, you don't necessarily have to buy the wave maker in the first place. Save yourself a little bit of money and just do that upgrade. Completely up to you. I'm going to leave it in this configuration. I'm going to leave the wave maker in, and I'm also going to have the random flow generator because that's going to give me loads of really diverse flow in this aquarium, which is going to give me more options when it comes to corals in the future. Then there's another thing that I'm going to show you, and again, completely optional. Now this is great for 2 things. Number one, it helps it helps a lot with water clarity. It really helps with water clarity. Also, it helps with oxygenation. It helps with keeping plenty of oxygen in the tank so your fish can breathe, and it's a really good option. If I can find it, here it is. It's a wooden air stone. Well, it's not a stone, but you know what I mean. It's a wooden air block. So this block here is wood. You can get these from all, you know, more or less every single aquarium shop. This is a wooden air block which connects to an air pump. Now what you can do with this is the return section of your Fluval Evo, the last section, is take your wooden air block and place it all the way down and push it to the side of your return pump. So the pump that came with the aquarium originally, put it at the side. not at where it sucks water in, put it at the side of the pump. Wedge it in there, get it nice and wedged in there so it doesn't pop out, because it will float, it can be quite buoyant. Put that in there, and then what you can do with that is periodically, and I'll probably say in the evening, late at night, you know, put it on a timer and let that air stone turn on for a couple of hours. What that will do, it will add oxygen to the aquarium, making it, you know, just better place for the fish, and also it will really clean up the aquarium, because those little bubbles that are going into this tank here will latch onto bits of waste and bits of rubbish and float them like a bit of a flotation device over into your filtration section and remove them for you, which is dead good. I find this, you know, a really great way of keeping this little tank running really smooth. Again, it's completely optional, you don't have to do it, but I found it works really, really well in this little tank. Now, these upgrades are all running now. We've got the random flow generator in, we've got obviously the media baskets, we've kept the wave maker running in here, and we now have the bubble scrubbing on. So what this does is, so like, if we turn it on, you'll start to see some real small bubbles start to enter into the aquarium. And what these bubbles will start to do, as they start to mix around the aquarium, they'll start to latch onto little bits of waste, excess food, things like that. They'll also start to oxygenate the aquarium, give it a nice rich, you know, like make it basically nice for the fish to be in. And I only do this periodically, you know, a couple of hours once a night. Do it at night as well, because it'll also help balance your pH. So if you're having any issues with pH, this will help balance with that. This is now a reef tank. This is fully functioning. It's a reef tank. We have corals, we have fish, everything is running as it is, and it is so simple. Each and every week, all I do is just take out a portion of the water and replace it with some nice, clean, fresh, new salt water, and that is all I have to do. Well, it's not, I also test the water as well to make sure everything's okay, but that's the result of it. So guys, if you have enjoyed today's video, please let me know in the comments section. Hit that like button. If you've loved the video and you want to see how this tank progresses, you want to see when I add new corals to this tank, you want to see how the original corals do, how they grow, will they die, what will happen to this aquarium over the next few months and years. Make sure you're subscribed, make sure that bell notification's on, otherwise you're not going to be able to find out. Guys, thank you so much for today. If you've got any questions, as always, put them in the comments section. I will answer them. And then if you've got any sort of like things that you would like to see from this Fluval Evo series, put them in the comment section also, and I will make that video for you. Guys, thank you so much. I'll see you all soon.